James Kaufman, World News Report. Today, in breaking news, appeals courts throw out $515 million civil fraud penalty against Donald Trump. And yes, Trump responds on Truth Social. In a huge blow to Letitia James and Biden's prosecutors, a New York appeals court threw out a massive civil fraud penalty against President Trump on Thursday. 5 votes to 0. AP reported an appeals court has thrown out a massive civil fraud penalty against President Donald Trump, ruling Thursday in New York State's lawsuit accusing him of exaggerating his wealth. I will explain more as we go on. The decision came 7 months after the Republican returned to the White House. A panel of 5 judges in New York's mid-level appellate division said the verdict, which stood to cost Trump more than $515 million and his real estate empire, was excessive. If y'all remember, this is the trial where he supposedly padded his financial assets to get loans that were all paid back with interest, and there was no victim. This was more than an overreach. This was lawfare. The slime ball judge, Engoron, valued Mar-a-Lago at $18 million, which Trump's team proved that you couldn't even buy a lot on that beach for. After finding that Trump engaged in fraud by flagrantly padding financial statements that went to the lenders and insurers, Judge Arthur Engoron ordered him to pay $355 million in penalties. With interest, the sum has topped $515 million while waiting on appeals. Marxist New York Attorney General Letitia James sought $370 million in damages when there was no victim in this fraud case, and she also sought to ban Trump and his sons from operating any business in New York. She accused Trump of inflating his assets and defrauding lenders and insurance companies. Remember, everyone was paid back with interest prior to the start of this monkey court trial. Judge Engoron, who is a complete freak show, ordered Trump to pay more than $355 million and barred Trump from serving as an officer or director of any New York corporation or other legal entity in New York for a period of 3 years. Engoron claimed Trump and each of the defendants participated in aiding and abetting the conspiracy to commit insurance fraud by their individual acts in falsifying business records and valuations, causing materially fraudulent SFCs to be intentionally submitted to insurance companies. Be assured, folks, that Trump had nothing to do with putting the asset evaluations together. And also be assured that the banks do their own appraisals and their own due diligence before making these type of real estate loans. Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump were also ordered to pay millions of dollars in fines. Trump Organization CFO Alan Weisselberg was also ordered to pay $1 million. The $355 million judgment, plus daily interest, swelled to more than $515 million while on appeal. Letitia James even took the initial step to seize President Trump's assets after he was unable to secure a bond or pay the outrageous judgment. He was eventually able to secure a bond and took this to an appeal. President Trump celebrated the win, although he is still out millions of dollars in attorney's fees, bonds fees, and more, and has no recourse whatsoever. He can't sue the city or the state. And we are talking about millions of dollars lost on these bonds fees and these attorney's fees and to the state of New York. I hope Letitia James, well, rots in a prison somewhere. Trump put out 3 posts on Truth Social as follows. Now stick with me because they are detailed. The first one, great win for America, Trump said on Truth Social. Total victory in the fake New York State Attorney General Letitia James case. I greatly respect the fact that the court had the courage to throw out this unlawful and disgraceful decision that was hurting business all throughout New York State. Others were afraid to do business there. The amount, including interest and penalties, was over $550 million. It was a political witch hunt in a business sense, the likes of which no one has ever seen before. This was a case of election interference by the city and state trying to show illegally that I did things that were wrong, when in fact, everything I did was absolutely correct and even perfect. Every single dollar was thrown out, even the penalties imposed on us by the corrupt judge. One of the most overturned in history, by the way, Arthur Engoron. This is actually when Engoron let cameras inside the courtroom to celebrate the state's victory. Watch him smile. Look, what a freak show. It's hard to believe that nothing's going to happen to this corrupt hack. Trump continued, I wasn't given a grand jury, and during the course of the trial, which lasted a long time, was not given one ruling in my favor by this political hack. But worse than him, if that's possible, was Letitia James, a corrupt and incompetent attorney general who only brought this case in order to hurt me politically. She is a Trump deranged lunatic. They made me bond the outrageous sum which never has happened before, and which cost me millions of dollars a month. Guys, you can't get that money back. It should have never been allowed to happen, and everyone knew it. Importantly, the vote was 5-0 on appeal. I am so honored by Justice David Friedman's great words of wisdom, which should be read by everyone. I would also like to thank the court for having the courage to make this decision, which is already going down as one of the worst business persecutions in the history of our country. Sadly, there are other cases against me that are equally disgraceful, including those headed up by corrupt judges like Juan Merchant, whose daughter collected millions of dollars in fees from crooked Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, while her father shockingly refused to recuse himself from a vicious and corrupt trial, which is also under appeal. Every legal pundit in New York said, quote, there is no case. Even the editorial board said, do not do this, Judge Merchant. Judge Merchant also gave me an unprecedented gag order, not letting me talk about him or his daughter, or the fact that the appellate judges thought he should not be trying this case. But he did it anyway. Many lawyers said that his daughter and him created the greatest conflict of interest they have ever seen. Judge Lewis Kaplan, the other remaining case, whose wife, family, and friends attended his 2 trials, is as mean and nasty as anyone I've ever met. That case, also on appeal, should also never have been brought, and he should be admonished for abuse and every other thing that can be thrown at a corrupt judge. He loved the publicity and would not let us present the irrefutable evidence that he wanted to present. This Clinton-appointed judge should not be allowed to get away with this scam. And finally, Trump's third and final truth or post on Truth Social. These were all political trials in an effort to destroy my viability as a presidential candidate before, during, and after the election. They were strongly coordinated with the Biden-Harris campaign and will go down in history as among the most corrupt cases ever brought. These two cases are even more ridiculous than the corrupt Letitia James case and will be found out to be so in the very near future. All these judges should be ashamed of themselves for allowing this to happen. They are political hacks who did everything possible to hurt me as a candidate. This was an attack by the Biden-Harris administration on their political opponent, me. It is such an honor to have withstood it, thrived, and even become president of the United States despite the horrible things that were done to me. I'd like to thank and congratulate my son Eric Trump and all of the many people in the Trump organization that fought so strongly for justice. My legal team refused to give up against heavy odds. It's a great day for New York City and New York State, Trump said on Truth Social. Wow, what a read. All right, folks. Well, he's off one of the cases, and Letitia might be going to jail. She's got 3 FHA mortgage fraud cases against her and 1 PPP, which is the COVID assistance case against her, where she also defrauded the government for a 4th time. God bless you and yours. Share, subscribe, and always remember that anything's possible in Bizarro World.